Let's talk about underwater video lights, more specifically about how to use them in a different way. Coming up. Hi and welcome back to the Underwater Filmmaking School, and thank you so much for tuning in again for today's video. Today we'll talk about the use of underwater video lights when filming underwater, but not just the normal use. We'll talk about how to use them in a slightly different way, specifically when filming macro underwater. Now, if you've been following this channel for a little while, you know that I think it is crucial to have enough light in your underwater scenes to get proper imagery taken when filming underwater. That can be the sun that we use as our primary light if we stay shallow enough and if we dive in clear enough water, or if we go deeper down or film something where the sun is not really reaching, we need to take underwater video lights with us. Now, when we film macro underwater, there is basically two ways how we can illuminate that creature or that macro thing that we're trying to capture. The first and more common way to illuminate your macro creatures is to just blast your underwater video lights onto your coral formation, onto your Nemo or whatever you're trying to film underwater. Just light it up evenly, hopefully, and get a sort of decent looking image that way. This is okay, works fine, but it's probably not the best possible look that you can get for that specific scene. The second option of lighting such a scene is by actually using something that we call a snoot. And a snoot is basically a very narrow light beam that is only illuminating a tiny fraction of our framing. That way we can make sure that we pinpoint the point of interest inside of our frame, and that we pull all the attention towards that tiny detail of the entire frame. If we're talking about a coral, that might be the polyp of a little coral. If we're talking about the Nemo, it might, or it obviously is going to be actually the Nemo within its anemone that we wanted to put all the focus onto and draw the attention of the viewer onto that specific part of our image. The technique behind achieving such a shot is actually not very difficult, and you're only going to need a couple of things. First of all, you're going to need a camera where you can adjust the exposure manually. So ideally, you want to be able to adjust ISO, aperture, and the shutter speed manually on the camera, and ideally also while being underwater. Second, you will need a tripod where you can place your camera on so you get a stable shot while capturing that moment. And last but not least, you'll also need an underwater video light that has the option of giving you a very narrow beam. Now, not all video lights will have that option, so be careful if you're picking out a new underwater video light and this is something that you want to try on one of your next video dives. Make sure that you choose a light that has such an option. My recommendation for such a light would be the Backscatter MW4300. Now, this is at the moment my favorite underwater video light when it comes to the compact version of these lights. I do like it specifically because in addition to having a 90-degree beam angle where you can illuminate a larger scene when we talk about filming wide angle stuff, it also has an integrated snoot option with a very narrow beam, which will help you and make it possible for you to capture these type of shots. Now, in addition to already having a snoot module built into the light itself, Backscatter has also come up with an optical snoot module that can be put on top of the underwater video light, and that module will bundle and intensify the light coming out of the underwater video light, making it actually much easier for you to illuminate whatever you're trying to put in the center of attention. It's going to be much easier for you to get a darker background this way and have still a bright image or a bright main subject inside your frame. So once you've got all the equipment that you need and you found the object that you want to use that technique on, you are going to place your camera on the tripod next to your object, please make sure that you really place it in the sand and not on any living organisms. You want to make sure that you get your framing right, the way that you like it, and then you want to close the aperture pretty much as far as you can. So you want to have a high reading on your aperture, as high as possible with your camera. Dial down the ISO as well then, most likely to the lowest reading there too, but this depends a lot on the lighting conditions in the situation where you're shooting. Once you've done that, you can then point your snoot, the light coming out of your snoot, onto the main object that you want to film, and make sure that the composition or the lighting, I'd better say, of your main object looks good. It doesn't have to be perfect, so it doesn't have to be all completely dark and just your main object should have some light on it, because you can still correct that in post-production. But you want to make sure that you have a big enough contrast in between the background and your main object that you want to have in the center of attention and in the center of focus. And once you're happy with how the image looks, you can press record, lean back, and basically just record for a couple of seconds, minutes, however long you want to have the clip until you get that sequence that you're looking for. And that's pretty much all the magic there is to creating these really cool looking shots. Backscatter has also created some colored filters that you can insert into your Snoot module, and what they will do, they will obviously color the light coming out of the module and give you again some more creativity when it comes to just isolating an object and giving it a specific color already while filming underwater. And there you go, one of my favorite ways of how you can make your underwater macro shots look a lot more interesting with not too much extra effort that you need to put in there. If this video was useful to you and you got something out of it, please do not forget to hit that like button and also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet, so you're not missing out on any future content that will be uploaded here. Now, the underwater video light, the Backscatter macro wide 4300, as well as the optical Snoot module, they will be linked down in the video description below. Feel free to go and check them out. If I'm not mistaken, Backscatter is still running some holiday special offers until the end of the year. So if I got your attention and I raised your interest in trying some of these techniques in the future on your future dives, make sure to check out these links and benefit from the special offers that are still ongoing there. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy bubbles and enjoy capturing your underwater adventures.